Do now is kind of what Reverend Ramona did in the very beginning. She grounded everyone. And I would like you now to consider yourself in the God bubble, or the Jesus bubble, or the spirit bubble, or whatever bubble you want to be in, but it's going to be your spiritual bubble. So any frustrations or upsets, or what am I going to do when I get out of here, or Super Bowl's at 3:30, and who's going to have time, and all that stuff. So take all of those mental stuff and just put them on the outside of your bubble. I have about 25 minutes with you, and this is about you and what you can take with you to take into your life to help you, to help yourself, to move forward, to expand consciousness, or whatever you want to call that. So today, the talk is going to be the wounded healer growing forward. And I'm going to start with a quote. I actually found it on Pip Astrology. They have some really cool stuff over there. But it really fit for what I wanted to say. I've wanted to do this talk for quite a while. A lot of my talks are about healing because I've been through that, and many of us have been. So we're considered the wounded healer. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. So the quote goes like this: "We teach what we most need to learn in this world. Therefore, it is from our greatest wounds that our greatest ability to heal comes from." And we will revisit that. You know, it's through the difficulties and the upsets and the challenges that we actually have the opportunity to expand our consciousness for a greater fulfillment in life. Sometimes it's through those things. That's the only way that the universe can actually reach us and help us to turn back to the universe when sometimes we've gone a little bit astray in our thinking. Anybody? Yeah, I've been there. So I had a beautiful teacher once, about 25 years ago when I started with religious science. It was Reverend Bob Bailey. I don't know if any of you remember him or not. He was an amazing man, my very first teacher, and very strong religious science minister. And he would teach me that, you know, consciousness, we want to learn, we want to expand, we want to, whatever it is that we can do to make life more fulfilling for ourselves and for other people. So pretty soon we learn things and our head starts hitting the ceiling, and then poof, it opens up and we move up to another level. And then we start to expand our consciousness from there, and we learn different things, and we start hitting the ceiling, and poof, there we go. Consciousness expands and things begin to change and move. And he used to also say that there's always a price. There's always going to be a price. And that kind of scared me a little bit. Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Is there a price? Like my firstborn or something, although he was a teenager and sometimes I wouldn't have minded. But other than that, the price is letting go of the junk. The price is the fear, the upset, the dis-ease, the dysfunction, the disharmony, any of those junky things that get stuck inside of us and in our cells in our day-to-day living. The price is getting rid of those for something even greater, something like love and peace and harmony and joy and health and well-being. And all these things are the things that we really want to have within us to express a greater fulfillment of life. You agree? Yeah, I love that. Okay. So today we have the lesson of Chiron, and Chiron is the wounded healer. It's a Greek myth, and it goes like this. Chiron was a centaur, and a centaur was half man and half horse. And he came into the world, and actually there's two stories about how he came into the world. The first story goes like this. His father is a Greek titan, big tough guy. His name is Kronos. And that's his father. Kronos is married to Rhea, who is not Chiron's mother. It's actually Kronos' sister. So that's kind of Greek mythology. They do it that way. So Kronos with his father. His mother was Philera, and she was a water nymph. And she was actually Kronos' niece. Who knew? So the first story goes like this, that Philera had the hots for Uncle Kronos. So she advanced towards him, and they had a tryst. and his wife Rhea was looking for him. So he had to turn himself into a horse so she would not see him. And then Philera became pregnant. That's story one. Story two is that he advanced towards Philera in the form of a horse and had his way, and she became pregnant. Okay, so either one or make up your own. That's how Chiron came into the world. So when he was born, Kronos wanted nothing to do with him. Nothing to do with him because, well, you know, Rhea, that would have made some problems, you know, in the marriage. And when Philera saw him, she saw that he was a centaur. She was greatly saddened, and she wanted nothing to do with him. She abandoned him. So right out of the gate, right off, we've got a centaur with some pretty deep emotional wounds. So we've got some separation anxieties, we've got some abandonment issues, right from the get-go. So he is abandoned by both parents. Well, who comes into the picture? Apollo. Apollo comes into the picture, who is actually Chiron's nephew. I know the ages are kind of backwards, but that's the reality of that. So Apollo comes in and he scoops him up and he raises him and he loves him and he teaches him. Well, come to find out, Chiron is this beautiful healer. People come to him from far and wide. He's an astronomer and astrologist, and he is a seer. He has foresight and medicinal and herbs. He is just magnificent and the best all around. So some people say he's kind of compensating for what he lost when he first came into the world. So one day, Hercules comes over. And as Hercules is passing Chiron, he accidentally stabs him with a poisonous arrow that he's had. This poisonous arrow, it is the poison of a hydra. And for those of you that don't know what the hydra is a serpent. And it has lots of heads. And if you chop off one, 2 more grow. The hydra is so poisonous that even the breath of the hydra will make someone drop dead on the spot. Pretty poisonous being. So what happens now is that the poisonous strength made the wound incurable. So despite Chiron's skill in healing, he was doomed for a life of agony. And a lifetime of agony for him is eternity, because the Titans are immortal, and his father was Titan. So this centaur, Chiron, is now immortal, and so he's doomed for eternity to be in extraordinarily horrible pain. So what's he going to do? So he's going to go have a talk with Zeus, because Prometheus, another god who is also immortal, he made man, and he started taking man, comforts like fire and things, so they would be more comfortable. They need them. They want to be comfortable. Well, Zeus didn't like that, and Zeus told him to knock it off. And he didn't knock it off. He kept bringing them nice things. So Zeus chained him to a mountaintop. And every day the eagles would come and they would rip out his liver. But because he's immortal, the liver would grow back. And every day the eagles would come and rip out the liver. Kind of like a Groundhog Day, but only Greek mythology way. So Chiron goes to Zeus and says, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I will give up my immortality if you will release Prometheus from the mountaintop. Zeus thought about it and he said, okay, I can do that. So he released Prometheus and he sent Chiron to the stars, where you can now see him in the constellation Sagittarius. It was through his pain that he was able to heal others. This was the blessing of Chiron. You know, the wounded healer is an archetype, and Carl Jung brought in the archetype, I think it was the early 1900s. And then Carolyn Myss, for those of you who are familiar with her, she wrote a book on the archetypes as well, and she includes the wounded healer. The thing is that healers, just like the people that they heal, they are wounded also. Carolyn Myss, for those of you that don't know her, she's an amazing author. She wrote a book called Anatomy of a Spirit, which really helped me through when my body wasn't feeling great. She's a wonderful author, metaphysician. She's a medical intuit, a healer, and she has some great stuff on YouTube. If you ever get a chance to see her stuff, tune in and take a look. She said that the wounded healer is someone who has been broken so they could be open. Kind of like Julian Tronte wrote a book, The Power of an Open, Broken Heart, one of the two. Anyway, so that the people who come to them are treated with the soul instead of the mind. They know that pain is not just theory, it has to be felt. You are the wounded healer when you have gone through the process and the experience of needing to heal yourself. You are the wounded healer if you have gone through the experience of needing to heal yourself. She also says that only the initiate, right, can ultimately heal the wound. So only we can heal our own wound. If it is an illness or an accident, it will frequently be one for which there is no conventional cure. That's kind of creepy. It's saying you are on your own. It's you and God. That's what you have. I mean, we can have the doctors and the naturopaths and the Qigong and all the beautiful things to support it. But whose consciousness is going to be expanded through this illness, through this accident? It's going to be ours. We push ourselves to a level of inner effort, she says, that becomes more of a process of transformation than it does about the illness. A process of transformation, because once we start doing the studies that we need to do, and we start expanding that consciousness and we start learning, pretty soon it's about the process, and the illness starts to fade in the background. The illness is not the issue. The illness is not the issue. The illness is not the issue. She says that the psychic wound will bring you to your knees. It will gut one to the core and demand a rewiring of perceptions and a feeling as if you have no place in this world. It is that long, dark night of the soul. You feel so alone. You feel alone. You feel forsaken, but you are not. Spirit is just waiting for you to turn around and look at it while you expand your ideas, your thoughts, your consciousness. Kind of like the prodigal son. It hasn't gone anywhere. So some examples of a wounded healer. What are some examples? Some examples are somebody that has experienced a horrible disease or dysfunction of some kind, and they get healed, and then they go into medical school because they want to be a doctor so that they can help heal others. That's an example of a wounded healer. Another example is the alcoholic. Lost their family, lost their home, children won't talk to them anymore, they're on the street, they lost their job, and so they had a choice, right? So they went to AA and they began to heal themselves. And once they've been through that, continue to be through that, they become a sponsor so they can help others up. That is an example of a wounded healer. I had an exempt child care provider that I was working with a couple years ago, and she had lost a child in an accident to a drunk driver. Oh, you want to talk about somebody's world being turned upside down like the loss of a child. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what she did? She is now on the council for MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, so that she can help others that have gone through that experience. To have to heal from that wound is so tremendous, but then to turn around and be that wounded healer. Your practitioners, your ministers, many of us have been through that very experience. To come forward to turn it into something that is more of a blessing to help others that may need that hand up. Dr. Erin Moore says that our wounds are a custom invitation to walk our unique path of healing. And every single one of us that go through that unique path, it's ours to do. It's ours to do. And we're always a choice. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? To be able to recycle what's happening inside and expand your love and your light so much to embrace others and help bring them up. There is a point and a purpose to everything that we go through out there. We ask Spirit, what is mine to do? Because it may not be immediately clear to any of us. Spirit knows no age, it knows no sex or gender, or it knows only love, and it knows only light, and it only knows the givingness of itself. Now the positive side, there is a positive side of this. There always is. We just got to look for it. Is that our wounds teach us who we are. Really, at the depth of us, we learn what's important, what we've kept hidden, and what we have suppressed. We're doing a lot of that right now in a class that I'm teaching, You Can Heal Your Life with the Science of Mind textbook. And we're really getting in there and we're finding what it is and where it came from and how to get rid of it and bring in that light that we already are. We are stronger. And once you go in and you come out the other side of that, you will never be what you were, but it'll be something different. And different isn't always a bad thing. It's a great thing. Healing from a wound is transformative. Now, the shadow side, we can get stuck in it. We can get stuck in it. We can become the victim. It's really easy to become the victim. We can become the victim of circumstance. We can become it. Everything about every moment is about the illness. Never seen anybody about that? I've seen that. And there's some people that just want to stay in it. You can do that. You are a choice to be in it. Let me start over on that. We can become it. Everything, every moment is about the illness and not the healing, nor the expansion of consciousness that is trying to take place. It will take place if we let it. You know, we can simply stay stuck and give up and give in. So I'll tell you a little story. When my body was really kind of like, I thought it was just at the end, and I was exhausted and I was tired and I was frustrated and I was doing my work and I had my practitioners and I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing, and I just kept going down and down and down. And I was feeling pretty darn sorry for myself, and I was starting to feel like the victim, and I was exhausted. My mother came up one day, she grabbed me, shoved me in the car, said, "We're going to church." So I was part of United Church of Religious Science in Auburn at that time. So she pulls up. This isn't a Church of Religious Science. This is a spiritualist church. So they have mediums. That's what they do there. So she drags me in. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm tired. I just want to quit. I'm done. Drags me in, sits me in a chair. So they go through their message that they do, their talk, and then out come a whole line of mediums. And they start giving people messages in the crowd. Excuse me. And then they point at me and they say, "I have a message for you." What now? It's coming through from a father figure. "Daddy?" So now you got my attention. You're coming through? And she said, "There's your message. The message is, you're not done yet." No, I'm done. I'm done. Really, I'm done. You're not done yet. I was so tired. I did not want to hear that. The one man that I respected the most in the world just came through to me through a medium at a spiritualist church and tells me I got to suck it up and get back with the program. Wow. So I went home and I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and I got back to work. And I'm really glad I am, and that I did, because I wouldn't be here. We're at choice. We're always at choice what we want to do with it. And from then on, I fought for it. That's kind of an example of a wounded healer. You know, we come into this world perfect. Perfect. Every single one of us come here perfect. We are full of light and love and joy and peace, tranquility, those beautiful attributes of the Father, Mother, God. Every single one of us. And then, you know what happens? You know what happens? Life. This school, planet Earth school thing that we're in, sometimes we think it's a bunch of hooey, but it's all about the expansion of our own consciousness. You know what happens? You know, we have issues with parents or family, friends, you know, those mean little kids at school, and you've always been the sensitive one, and they say those mean things to you. Well, guess what I found out about all the mean little kids? They feel the same way that you do. Nobody knew what they were doing. Sometimes they just feel kind of crummy about themselves. And when these things happen to us, because they happen to us, and we find ourselves feeling damaged or not good enough or wrong. And then we hold on to that stuff for the rest of our lives. The whole point of the wound, the whole point is to allow us the opportunity to turn to our divine perfection, our wholeness, and our completeness. Because the healing is always in the revealing of the truth. The truth will never change. God doesn't change. Nope. The truth is always the truth. You know, it's kind of an oxymoron. The wound is what heals us. We're wounded and we're whole all at the same time. All at the same time. So I want to go back to the quote that I started with. And maybe it'll make a little bit more sense to you. We teach what we most need to learn in the world. Therefore, it is from our greatest wounds that our greatest ability to heal comes from. Okay. So I'm going to close with this from Dr. Oh, why did I put Raymond Charles Barker? So it's either Dr. Stuart Grayson or Raymond Charles Barker. They were both great men. So one of the two of you, it's from you. John, can I get a little ditty from you in the background, please? So what I'd like you guys to do is just close your eyes. Close your eyes, become centered, turn within. That beautiful breath that Reverend Ramona was talking about. Inhale deeply. Inhale. And then exhale. Inhale again. And exhale. This time, follow the breath down to the solar plexus area. This is the place of the very Most High, where that still small voice speaks to you, guides you, directs you. It will never do you wrong. It is who and what you are. So I invite you to take in these words spoken in the first person. Accept them for yourself if you find they ring true for you. There is a principle of wholeness in the universe. It is ever present, always expressing and experiencing through a cosmos of spiritual ideas. These form my life now. Each organ, function, and action expresses this wholeness principle. My potential for expressing and experiencing wholeness is continual. I use the law of creativity in a positive and a constructive way. I recognize that this principle is the substance and essence of my being. I come from wholeness and I live in wholeness. Wholeness is the principle of my life. I am the outpicturing of harmony and well-being. Nothing in the world of conditions can disrupt or disturb this perfect order and action. Every belief in the no's of life, the opinions and the acceptances of human experience and the concepts of the so-called authorities is dissolved. I see myself as the perfect manifestation of the principle of wholeness, and it is now exhibited through every aspect of my physical being. I rejoice in this perfect truth of my nature. And so it is.